call tonight's meeting to order. There will be no flag salute, so we'll go right to roll call.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Bracken?
Here, if you can hear me, I can't fix my video.
We can hear you just fine, thank you. Commissioner Port?
Here.
Commissioner Galka is excused. Commissioner Prenovo?
Here.
Commissioner McLean?
Here.
Vice Chair Robertson?
Here.
And Chairman Salvage?
Here. All right. Thank you, Kelly. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meetings? And if so, are there any additions or corrections or concerns with those minutes? All right, hearing none, then the minutes from, I need a date here. The
July 15th.
July 15th, 2020 stand approved as submitted. Okay, tonight we have 5 public hearing items. The first 2 public hearing items are a continuation from previous hearings. The continued application AR-20-05 is the Farm Worker Housing Development Corp. It's continued for administrative review for a 24-unit apartment complex on Weldwood Drive. So we began this public hearing process on June 17th, 2020 with a staff report and initial applicant comments. We continued it until June 24th, giving the public time to make comment. We left the public record open until June 22nd at 5 p.m. And then on June 24th, we had a separate meeting and we reviewed the public testimony that was provided during the comment period. We reviewed the applicant's response, and then we postponed the public comment period at the request of a member of the public. So during the public comment period, the city received a request from the applicant to reopen the public record at the July 15th meeting, then provide modified procedures for public comment to clarify the record. So I'm slowly getting everyone caught up here. We then had the July 15th Planning Commission meeting. We moved to reopen the record and then institute the 777 rule. This provided 7 days for additional public comment to be received, then 7 days for the general public to provide rebuttal testimony to the comments received, and a final 7 days to allow the applicant to provide final written testimony. At the conclusion of the final 7 days on August 5th, the public record was closed. I want to clarify, the public record on this application is now closed. Tonight, we, the Planning Commission, will be reviewing the public comment provided, deliberate on the merits of the application as it pertains to the decision criteria, and then vote on the application. Before we actually go into the deliberation, is Mr. Kennedy, the city attorney, available to discuss any further procedures with this application?
Are there any further procedures that we need to clarify, or are we good to go?
I think we've covered everything.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So before we deliberate as the planning commissioners on this item, I want to clarify one more time and ask if there's been any ex parte contact or any conflict of interest.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to need to recuse myself as a result of some unintended ex parte contact, so I will not participate in the discussion.
Okay, thank you, Don. All right, and Kelly, I assume we still have a quorum without Dawn's being participating.
We do.
Okay.
We do indeed.
Okay, thank you. So now I'll turn it back over to Kelly Hart and the rest of the staff for a brief presentation.
Thank you, sir, and good evening. As discussed before you tonight is the continuation of the public hearing item proposed for a development of a 24-unit apartment complex for the property off of the end of Weldwood Drive. As the chairman has already summarized the actions that have occurred for the application to date, As indicated, the public record for the application was closed on August 5th, and as such, there is no further acceptance of public testimony for this application. This evening, the Planning Commission will review all of the public testimony provided in its entirety, deliberate on the application, and make a decision on the application. All the public testimony has been posted to the city's website and advertised on the city's Facebook page, and has been provided to the Planning Commission at each of the identified deadlines that were discussed earlier, along with distribution to the applicants. All testimony, along with the entirety of the record, was also included in the Planning Commission agenda packet that was distributed for this evening's consideration as well. So I would ask whether the Planning Commission has had the opportunity to review the record in its entirety, and if so, deliberate on the merits of the application and the public testimony provided. And as part of the review, the applicant has requested modifications to the original proposed conditions provided in the original staff report. Those proposed modifications were included in the applicant's final written testimony letter on dated August 5th of 2020. Staff has reviewed the proposed modifications, are in general agreement with the amendments, with the exception of one engineering condition. And a proposed motion has been provided to the Planning Commission if the Planning Commission chooses to approve the application with the revised language to provide clarification on that condition. And so with that, I will turn the item back over to the chair, and I am also available for any questions along with our city engineer as well.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. So I wanted to first kind of apologize to both the public and the applicant. This has been a clunky process that we've been figuring out as we go, and it's been somewhat drawn out. But I wanted to put everyone's mind at ease that the Planning Commission has had more than ample time, we as commissioners, to review every comment in favor and every comment opposed. And we've had quite a bit more time than we would for a normal hearing, because this has all been provided in writing, and we've had since June, as this thing has progressed, to go over everything very thoroughly. I wanted to open it up to the Planning Commission now to have some discussion on any concerns you guys have with this application, any concerns you have with the applicant's rebuttal to some of the concerns that were submitted by the public, and just make sure that we cover all our bases here before we move forward on this application. Oh, I also wanted to clarify, sorry, I'm going back. I wanted to clarify one more thing. In the early on portions of this hearing, we had staff summarize the comments that were submitted by the public. And we had a public comment that said that was basically rolling the dice because it's staff summarizing their version of the public's comment. But I wanted to let the public know, and the applicant, that the staff was merely summarizing it to reference each individual comment or concern that was put forward. The planning commissioners, we had every comment and concern in front of us that we had read through. So she was just referencing it to address each specific issue, so we could reference back to the comment that was made, and then she could provide city's interpretation of how that was resolved or how it was not an actual issue. So I made some notes. Most of the comments that were put out there by the neighborhood that was concerned about this had to do with traffic, some parking, fence or a wall, coordination with both Lynn County and with the school district, And I just wanted to clarify a few things myself, and then I'm going to have staff also clarify this. I don't know that the public has had, or that every person in the public who's viewing this tonight has been able to go through the available resources online. So I kind of wanted to hit some bullet points on some of the main concerns. A few of the concerns addressed that Weldwood Drive, connecting it through, would cause significant traffic coming through that neighborhood. And staff has already clarified this, but I want to clarify it one more time for both public and the commission. Wellwood Drive will not be pushed through from South Main Road to Cascade Drive. Wellwood Drive will come from Cascade Drive, and it will have a hammerhead initially and eventually a cul-de-sac. It will not be a through street. So that's not something people need to be worried about. The other big objection was the additional traffic. The traffic impacts, especially at the intersection of Cascade and Wellwood Drive. I think both the traffic engineering and our city staff both agreed that adding additional 24 more units would not significantly impact that intersection and would not at this point necessitate a traffic signal. So I wanted to open it up to staff. Is Ron Whitlatch available tonight? I wanted to open that back up to him if he has any comments on that, just to clarify for the public.
Well, so Jeremy, we looked at this. We had Kittleson and Associates look at this, and they looked at the development as an entirety. This TIA that was done was not a requirement of the planning department. This was a requirement of engineering because of the traffic patterns that are out there and due to the proximity of the state highway. Their findings are that this development will have very little impact on that intersection. There's some other mitigation issues with Walmart that staff will be looking at, but it has no impact on this development, or is there anything in terms of mitigation that this development would have to do in terms of traffic?
Okay, thank you, Ron. Another point of contention was the reduced number of parking spaces. I believe that was in the initial application, but that has been changed. Kelly, could you speak on that?
Yeah, so as identified way back in June when we started this, the applicant's initial submittal was to request for a minor reduction in the parking. We issued the public notice because there's a 20-day public notice review period. And the initial suggestion was or the initial request was to include that variance. However, in between the time when the public notice was issued and the first hearing date and publication of the Planning Commission agenda, staff worked with the applicant to identify some additional opportunities to provide parking to no longer require the need for the variance. And so as the project stands, as was originally presented at the very first public hearing portion of this item, the project complies with the parking code as identified in the chapter 1614 of the development code.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Another concern that the neighborhood had, and I had as well, was having a fence or wall installed to keep pedestrian traffic from migrating from the apartment area over into the Wagon Wheel Lebanon Drive neighborhood area. That has been addressed by the applicant, and would you be able to speak on that as well, Kelly?
Sure. The applicant is proposing to comply with the chapter 16.15 of our development code, which is the landscape and screening standards, with the inclusion of a 6-foot tall chain link fence with the screening slats in the fence, along with the installation of perimeter trees and shrubs to provide that compliance with the code. So a 6-foot fence is being provided and is incorporated in the proposed modified conditions that the applicant has provided to state that that fence would be included and conditioned as part of the development to ensure it's provided.
Okay, great. One more thing that I had made note of was someone in opposition noted a lack of coordination with Lynn County. And now I know you guys contact Lynn County with every application. Was there any feedback from Lynn County on this?
On this application, no. And to clarify, the comment was in reference to our urban growth management agreement between Lynn County and the city of Lebanon. And that agreement specifically states that when development occurs within the county unincorporated area that is within the city's urban growth boundary, then the county has a responsibility to coordinate that development with the city and to work with us on that to make sure it's compliant with the city's future growth patterns and our comprehensive plan. And so that is the urban growth management responsibility for the county to coordinate with us, but that doesn't negate the fact that as part of every application, we do notify Lynn County as well as notify the school district that these applications are occurring, and they have every opportunity to provide comments and conditions on the application as well, which Lynn County has done on previous applications for road work and that kind of thing. And so both of them were notified as part of this process, and we did not receive any comments from either of those institutions.
Okay. I think you already answered my other question regarding Lebanon School District. Now, planning commissioners, those are some of my concerns that were addressed by both staff and the applicant. Do you guys have any other concerns or questions that you wanna bring up now? I also want to make it clear that there was a lot of concerns raised that did not specifically, they were more social concerns, or what if what if this happens, or what if that happens. Our decision needs to be made based on the planning code and the decision criteria. So I'd like to keep our discussion limited to those items.
Well, that being said, the only comments that I have is that I think the developer has answered the concerns and meets the requirements and criteria for this project to continue.
Thank you, Dave. Samuel, do you have any additional comments or concerns? Do you feel like the criteria has been met and that the developer has addressed in their response and rebuttal the concerns that were brought forth by the opposition?
Hey, this is Samuel. I do feel that they adequately addressed the concerns. I feel for the public comment, and I understand where each one of those comments were coming from. It's just that we look at the decision criteria, right? We look at the development code. Does it go along with the development code? Has the developer addressed the concerns in the public comment? And they have. Again, I understand that there is what if scenarios that are brought up that are good, but as a commissioner, it's, you know, I'm looking at the decision criteria. Does it fit with the development code, and have the concerns been addressed? And I would have to go what they have. And so I have no further issue or further comment that would be considered negative for this, for the movement of this planning file.
Okay, thank you, Samuel. Todd, are you there? Do you have any comments? Do you feel that the decision criteria has been met and the applicant has sufficiently addressed concerns that were brought up that pertain to the actual decision criteria?
Based on the criteria, I agree with both Dave and Samuel that they have completely convinced me they have addressed all the issues, and based on that criteria, I don't see any issues, nor do I have any more comments.
Okay, thanks, Todd. I can't see all the commissioners that are here tonight. Who else is with us that can provide comment?
Commissioner Port is here, but I'm not sure if he wants to
Oh,
provide comment or not.
Josh,
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
what say you?
Yeah, I agree. There's what we could what if this whole thing to death. I mean, as far as I agree with the previous three. I mean, that the applicant did a good job addressing all the issues, and I should move forward.
Okay, thanks, Josh. I also feel the same way. I always can sympathize with neighbors in single family residences that have an apartment complex going up nearby. However, that is acceptable within the city of Lebanon. It's part of our planning code, and the code is made up from the public. It's an open public input process that the public developed, and by having these black and white criteria that the application has to meet every time, it keeps us from, I guess, to put it bluntly, it prevents the good old boy system from happening. Like, I like this application, I don't like that application. These people are my friends. I'm not going to let a neighborhood apartment go in their neighborhood, but these people over here, I am going to let an apartment go. We as commissioners have to go by the decision that has been the decision criteria that is in place, that is basically there from the public's wishes and public comment built over the years. So I feel like the decision criteria have been met, and I feel like all of the concerns that the neighbors and people in opposition brought up that pertain to the decision criteria, I feel that the applicant addressed all those and does meet the decision criteria. So having said that, it sounds like we're all kind of on the same page. Is there someone who would like to put forth a motion on this application?
I would. I move that the Planning Commission approve Administrative Review AR 20-05 based upon the written findings in the staff report with the modified conditions as requested in the applicant's final written argument letter dated August 5th, 2020. With the exception of engineering condition number 3A in the storm drainage section, where the condition shall read, storm drainage facilities must be designed and constructed to ensure historical quantities of site discharge and are not exceeded, and shall follow the civil law doctrine of drainage as adopted by the state. Storm drain capacity shall be determined by the rational method for a 10-year event with a 15-minute minimum durations time using the curve in figure 5.3 in the master plan. A detailed design, including engineering calculations, shall be submitted as part of site plan review. And finally, direct the staff to draft a planning commission order with the findings and modified conditions of approval.
Thank you, Dave. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed, say nay. Okay, that motion carries unanimously. And before we move on, I would like to thank the applicant, Farm Worker Housing Development, for all their work on this. I'd also like to thank the public for all the public comments. This was there was a more public testimony on this planning file than we've had in quite a while. Part of it, I think, was due to the extended duration of this application, drawing it out over multiple meetings. But I do want the public to know that their voice has been heard. And I also want to thank the applicant for working hard to address all the concerns in their rebuttal. All right.
Can I say, I just want to say on behalf of FHDC, thank you to the commissioners and to the city staff. It's been a process, but we're happy with the outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to get back on the agenda here and make sure I'm in the right spot for the rest of the meeting. Okay, we are now on planning file AR-20-09. This is also a continuation. The public testimony portion has been closed on this. This will be just like the last planning file that we just completed. All deliberation will be between the planning commissioners and staff, and this will be based on the public testimony that was provided to us over the last couple weeks. Before we open it up, I would like to check again to see if there's been any ex parte contact or conflict of interest among the commissioners. All right, I see none. And I do want to make sure Dawn is back with us, correct?
I'm here.
All right, Dawn, welcome back. This is a continued hearing for administrative review AR-20-09. It's a 78-unit apartment complex on Russell Drive. We began this public hearing process on July 15th with a staff report and applicant comments. Upon conclusion of the comments, the Planning Commission moved to initiate the 777 rule, which, as before, provided 7 days for additional public comment to be received and 7 days for the general public to provide rebuttal testimony, and then a final 7 days to allow the applicant to provide final written testimony. At the conclusion of the final 7 days on August 5th, the public record was closed. Tonight, we'll be reviewing the public comment provided, and we'll deliberate on the merits of the application as it pertains to the decision criteria, and then we'll take a vote. Want to make sure I'm going to skip over the part. I think the city attorney clarified that we pretty much covered all our bases as far as the procedures for tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Kelly for a brief presentation from the staff side of things.
Good evening again. Much like the previous application, we have already summarized everything that has occurred. Public record was closed on August 5th, and so there will be no further acceptance of public testimony as part of this. This evening, the Planning Commission will review the public testimony that was provided in its entirety and deliberate the application and make any decisions on that. Again, all the public testimony was advertised on the city's website and Facebook page, provided to the applicants, and provided to the Planning Commission, and is included in the agenda as well. And so again, I ask if the Planning Commission has had the opportunity to review the record in its entirety, and if so, deliberate the merits of the application for the 78-unit apartment complex on Russell Drive. And with that, I can turn it back to the chair, and I'm available to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. So this is phase 2 of the McKinney Lane Apartments, just on the other side of the railroad tracks. Planning commissioners, did you guys have any more questions or concerns that haven't already been brought up, or that you wanted further clarification from staff on?
I think the only comment I've got, Jeremy, just to reiterate, Kelly, maybe you can confirm the footprint of the buildings are entirely in the uplands, not in the wetlands.
Yes, that's correct. A wetland delineation was completed and provided as part of the project, and all building construction occurs outside of the delineated area.
I had a comment. A lot of the feedback on questions and concerns on this application was the wetland area, and I just thought for the public's education, I think to clarify what the state considers wetlands and as far as the delineation and mitigation that has to take place, I just wanted to clarify wetlands doesn't actually mean an area that is wet or has a swampy area or tall grass. Wetlands is based on soil type, and that soil is tested by the state. They determine whether or not that soil is capable of basically sustaining certain type of plant life. And historically, most of the Willamette Valley was a wetland. That's why we here in Lebanon are running up against problems as we kind of grow outside the city area into the farmland. A lot of that is delineated and designated as wetland type soil. So just to clarify, from the Planning Commission's view on this, it was clearly identified which areas were considered a wetland by the state of Oregon based on their soil type, and the application here in the apartment and parking area, none of that will encroach on the actual wetland area. Yes, it is being built in an area that has tall grass that is wet sometimes, but as far as we're concerned, it's not displacing wetland area from the state surplus. So I hope that clarifies that. Are there any other comments from the planning commissioners? Do you guys feel like this application has met the decision criteria?
Yeah, I'll start again on this one. So it not really an issue that I had was, but a comment about the drainage, right? So, you know, I kind of wanted to hear about the drainage as well. And the response was, hey, we're building this, we're engineering a storm drainage system. And that was pretty much it. And you know, that's sufficient, right? They're gonna put a drainage system out there. But I was wondering, is there anything that we can require that says what type of drainage system and what can it sustain, and what are the what can or can it not do? And you know, outside of just saying, okay, yeah, you're putting a drainage system out there, and engineers are approving it. The only thing I would ask is there anything that we could say is what kind of drainage system, or something from engineering that says what type? So then we know, okay, well, they put this type in there instead of just saying, yeah, we're putting in an engineering draining system. You know what I mean? So that's really all I had. Was I see they responded to it. They did a great job in doing that to the public comment, but sometimes I wish that there could be a little bit more detail in saying, okay, we're doing more than putting a drainage system out there being approved by engineers, but maybe a type that says it could withstand this if this happens, just to kind of give the public a little bit more of a comfy feeling outside of just saying we're doing this without any stats behind it. Is all I'm wondering.
Sure, I can take a small stab at least starting answering that, and then Ron can jump in. So detail is great, but sometimes difficult on a planning application, which is the initial process. Planning gets it first, identifies, does the project meet the general development code to make sure that it can move forward. Once it does, then a detailed construction and drainage plan is created as part of that to meet all of the other very specific engineered requirements. In general, there is Oregon drainage law that is stipulated by the state that says what you need to do, how it needs to drain, how you cannot impact surrounding properties, change surrounding properties' flows. The state very clearly spells out what you cannot impact, and then engineers have to design a system that is contains similar components throughout, but is designed unique to a project to make sure and clarify that it does not trigger any of those state requirements. And so I don't know if Ron wants to go anything further than that, but.
Well, I mean, each development's required to do detention, right? So they've got to have detention. They can release only at historic rates on a 10-year event. So to get into that kind of detail before you've gone into your complete engineering drawings is for the planning portion of it, it'd be a little bit onerous at this point. For one, they're going to want to make sure that they can get planning approval. Two, it's up to the applicant to determine these things. We review that for accuracy and basically to make sure that it's following Oregon drainage law and following our storm drainage master plan. So what that looks like, I mean, we can get a variety of things. I mean, you can have multiple different types of detention facilities. You can have you can have pipe systems. You can have overland flow systems. It just kind of depends on how it fits within the development. And as long as it meets all those criteria, we have no issue with it.
Did that help, Samuel?
It did, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly and Ron. Anyone else have any comments or questions, concerns? So I'm just going to go through one at a time. As I can see you, I can only see a few of you, but Dawn, do you feel like this application meets the decision criteria?
I do. I think they've done a great job of spelling it out.
Okay. Thank you. How about you, Josh?
I agree. I think they've their bases covered.
Samuel?
Yeah, I'm with the other commissioners and think they've spelled out a good plan here.
Dave?
Yes, I think they've met the requirements and the criteria to continue.
Todd?
I'm in agreement with the rest of the commissioners. I'm ready to go. Pitter patter, let's get at her.
All right, it sounds like we're ready for a motion.
I like that.
I'll try one. Okay. I move that the Planning Commission approve the administrative review AR-20-09 based on the written findings in the revised staff report and direct staff to the Planning Commission order incorporating the findings and conditions of approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, I got a second from Dawn. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, that motion carries unanimously. Okay, we are moving forward. We are now on, we are now past the items on the agenda that were carried forward. These are two new items tonight. These will be we will be following quasi judicial rules and procedures. So with that, I would like to let the city attorney give a brief, or Kelly or the city attorney, or both, a combination of how the rest of this is going to work for us tonight, now that we're going to have open public testimony on the Zoom meeting with us.
Sure, I can give a brief overview. So tonight we're acting as if the meeting were held in person. The public had the opportunity to request to participate in the Zoom meeting up until 5 p.m. tonight and provide written comments. We did receive one written comment for one of the applications, and we'll discuss it during that time. But we will run the meeting as if it was in person, and so we'll have the city attorney read through the meeting procedures. You'll open up the hearing, have staff's reports, ask any questions, and then open up for public comment, at which point I would, if we had public comment, requests for them to speak. We don't have any at this point in time for this application. And then we would go through the process and close the public comments at that point in time and do your final deliberations. Because we've provided the opportunity to provide written comments ahead of time as well as participate in the meeting, the process for providing public comment has been met. And so you would be able to make a decision and vote on an application tonight as part of the process. So if there's no other questions, we can turn it over to the city attorney to read through the procedures.
All right, I'm gonna, a little bit different than you hear when we're just in person, just because of some of the procedures that we've already gone over. We will still, at the commencement of the hearing, I would ask the commissioners to announce any ex parte contacts or conflicts of interest. If you have any questions about what either of those are, please feel free to ask me. We'll have a staff report. We'll then have questions of the staff by the commission. The public testimony, which I don't believe we will have any, but if there was any public testimony, and we need to make this part of the record regardless, all testimony needs to be directed towards the criteria that have previously been described in the notice in the materials provided by the city. All of the evidence must be directed towards that criteria or other criteria in the Lebanon Comprehensive Plan or land use regulations. Failure to raise those issues, or including any constitutional issue or other issue related to the proposed conditions of approval, if any, accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the commission and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue, would preclude an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals. As normal, we'll start with the proponent, then opponents, and then any rebuttal if necessary, and then close the public hearing for discussion by commission only. With that, the chairman can ask for any ex parte contact or conflicts of interest.
Thank you, sir. All right, among the commissioners regarding conditional use permits CU-20-02 annexation application, has there been any ex parte contact or conflict of interest? All right, hearing and seeing none, I will turn it back over to Kelly for the staff report.
Thank you, sir. So before you this evening is a proposed conditional use permit for the resuming of a non-conforming use of a drive-through coffee cart on Airport Road, which is within the residential mixed density zone. In 2002, the subject site was developed with a commercial storage structure and was specifically designed for the operation of a drive-through coffee stand. The coffee stand was a movable structure, but the site and permanent improvements were specific to the commercial use. As the zone in which the site is located is residential, the development code update associated with the 2004 comprehensive plan designated this site as a legal non-conforming based off of the site improvements and the operation of a drive-through use. As described in the staff report, the site is specifically designed and constructed for the operation of a drive-through kiosk. And let me go to this next slide so you can see that. It includes improvements for a commercial grade driveway, internal paved vehicular path with 2 different drive-through lanes. So one would drive through on one side and another would drive through on the internal drive. And then the cart would sit in the middle, as you see here, and provide service for either drive-through lane. And obviously, the site has been designed specifically for that use. The non-conformity of the proposed use is the drive-through component. However, since the site is specifically designed for drive-through access, it would need to be completely modified for any further commercial use. Section 16.30.020.d of the Development Code says a non-conforming structure reasonably capable of use only for a non-conforming industrial or commercial use may be reestablished, changed, altered, or expanded as part of a conditional use permit. And again, unless the site is significantly altered, no other commercial or residential use would be able to operate on the site due to the specific configuration for a drive-through purpose. As such, the request before the Planning Commission is to allow the existing non-conforming site to be authorized to resume the operations of a coffee cart, as was previously approved and operated since 2002. So with that, I will answer any questions you might have.
Kelly, I've only got one question. Is there any concern about stacking out onto Airport Road?
So I actually did a quick calculation. I believe you can stack up to 9 vehicles into the internal property on one drive-through without impeding on the other drive-through, which would also stack additional vehicles as well. So you can get more than a dozen vehicles on that property before you have a stacking issue. And so I think it was specifically designed to accommodate the stacking, and so it's not perceived to be of concern.
That was my only question, just, how much room is there before things start backing out on Airport Road? But it also, there's a pretty large parking lot there. Is there any, when you were talking about the stacking, would it block the driveway off of Airport Road into that? Or would that 9 cars stacked still allow cars to pull in and out of the driveway that goes to Airport?
No, let me pull up the screen again to show you. So from the entrance on the driveway, you can stack 9 vehicles up until this spot here. And then you would be able to enter in here as well and stack, I believe, another 4 vehicles in here before you would block the driveway exit point here.
I gotcha.
And does anybody need any further visual, or shall I stop sharing the screen? I'll take that as a stop sharing screen.
Thank you, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions or comments for staff? All right. Is the applicant with us tonight? Would they like to speak?
The applicant is not here tonight now.
Okay. Then is there anyone who, it sounded like there weren't, but I want to just say this out loud. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the application?
We do not have anybody in the meeting that has requested to be here to speak in favor of it, and we have not received any written correspondence in favor or in opposition of the application.
Okay. Then with that, we will close the public testimony portion, and all further comments will be between staff and the planning commissioners. To me, guys, this seems like a pretty straightforward, it's using what the site was intended to, and I don't see any issues with it. If you guys don't have any other concerns or issues, is someone willing to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I move the planning commission approve the conditional use permit CUP 20-02 based on the written findings of the staff report and the direct staff to draft a planning commission order incorporating the findings and conditions of approval.
Second.
Second.
All right, I heard a second. Was that from Josh? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, that motion carries unanimously. Okay, final item tonight. This is a comprehensive plan map amendment application. The applicant requested that the hearing be. Oh,
Jeremy, I'm so sorry. We have the annexation one for the Ross Latimer annexation on Stoltz Hill.
okay,
I think
sorry.
I messed up.
Yeah, I skipped one.
That was my fault.
Is that CPMA 20-01?
It's A20-05.
Okay, stand by.
Sorry about that. That was my mistake.
There we go. So this is annexation request A20-05. Has there been any ex parte contact or conflict of interest? Okay, seeing none, I'll just check in with the city attorney, make sure he doesn't want to go over the procedures again, that we're going to have the same procedures as what we just previously had.
No, not unless anybody requests that they hear them again.
Sounds like we're good. Okay. Staff report, please.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Computer decided to freak out on me for a second. Hang on just a second. Okay, so good evening again. Before you tonight is a proposed annexation for a residential property off of Stoltz Hill Road. The subject properties are a combined 0.72 acres in size with approximately 107 feet of street frontage along Stoltz Hill. Portion of Stoltz Hill Road along the frontage of the subject properties would also be annexed as part of the proposal. Properties to the south and west, including the public right-of-way, are located within the city limits, and therefore the site is contiguous to city boundaries and eligible for annexation. The property is located in a developed residential neighborhood. To the south and west are residential properties within city limits with the zoning designation of residential mixed density. And to the north and east are residential properties in county unincorporated area within the city's urban growth boundary and a comprehensive plan designation of residential mixed density. Subject properties are improved with an existing single-family residence and detached garage structure. City water and sewer and storm drainage are available in Stoltz Hill Road, directly to the south of the subject properties. And upon annexation, the applicant intends to extend the city utility services along the length of the property, but as part of the proposed annexation, there is no current development proposal. The staff report provides a detailed analysis of the required review criteria and recommended findings for how the proposed annexation meets that criteria. But generally speaking, the criteria can be met as the property is contiguous and eligible for annexation, and the applicant is accepting of the first zoning, which is residential mixed density, and therefore the site's use in any future development is consistent with the established zone and is able to be accommodated within the existing city facility master plans. So with that, I can conclude my report and answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for staff? All right. Did you say that the applicant is not with us tonight?
The applicant is also not with us tonight.
Okay. And confirming there is no one who has signed up to speak in opposition or in favor of this application?
There is no one that has signed in to speak in opposition or in favor, but we did receive one written comment.
Would you be able to summarize that for us, Kelly?
Yes, the written comment was from Lynn County Road Department, and the comment requested that as part of the annexation, the city also annex to the city's half street for the street annexation as well, and that's already been incorporated in the design and proposal.
Thank you. All right, we will close the public testimony portion and deliberate between the planning commissioners. Is there any concerns with this annexation? It seems pretty straightforward and necessary to me.
My opinion, it really doesn't get much simpler than this one.
I agree. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion?
I'll do it. I move that the Planning Commission recommends approval of the annexation A20-05 based on the written findings in the staff report and direct staff to draft in order of a recommendation incorporating the findings and conditions of approval.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dave. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Okay, that motion carries unanimously. All right, final agenda item tonight. This was a comprehensive plan map amendment, CPMA-20-01. The applicant has requested this public hearing be postponed to the date certain of September 16th, 2020. Do you guys have any questions regarding this postponement? If there are no questions, I believe a motion to postpone would be in order. Would anyone like to make a motion to postpone file CPMA?
I will.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
I move to continue the public hearing on the proposed comprehensive plan map amendment request in planning file CMPA-20-01 to the September 16th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting at the request of the applicant.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Don. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That motion carries unanimously. We will postpone that hearing until September 16th. All right, that's all for the agenda items tonight. Any planning commission business?
A couple of things really quickly. Hopefully tonight is a demonstration of how easy it can go now. If everything goes the way it's supposed to in terms of a one meeting option. I would be remiss to leave this meeting without profusely thanking our IT department. We have two of them on the phone right now to make sure everything's running as smoothly as possible, and making sure that everybody is named appropriately and having interface with the public so that I don't have to in preparation of the meeting. And so I am incredibly grateful to both of them. And everything that the whole team has done. We'll continue to refine our processes. I can guarantee you at the next meeting, we will have people wanting to participate as part of the public comments. The application for postponement, we had received some public comments already as part of the notification process. And in conversations with the applicant wanted to have more time to talk to the public, understand concerns, before he moves forward. So we've already received some written comment that will be incorporated as part of the hearing once we actually have one. And I anticipate we'll probably have some public comment that wants to speak as well. So we'll continue to try to update this and make it a little bit easier. But if you guys have any suggestions, concerns, or issues, please let me know and I'll try to not bug you too much about it. But anything that you have, we'll try to address it.
I'd like to address one thing real quick.
Yeah,
Hey,
go for it.
Todd, is that your initials behind you on your wall there?
My brand.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they are my initials, but it's my brand.
Okay, all right. Nice.
Hey, I just wanted to say something. I want to give a shout out to Jeremy. Jeremy, I think you did a fantastic job describing our boundaries for the farm apartment complex, and really explaining to the public that we are bound by black and white lines, whether we agree or disagree with any principle. We have to follow those guidelines. So I appreciate you explaining that very well and eloquently. Thank you.
I was going to say
Todd.
the same thing, Todd. I thought you did a great job tonight with a rather delicate situation. That you handled it great.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been somewhat frustrated by this process that we've with the lack of interaction with the public. It's been I feel like the bad guy to a degree, and I really wanted to explain. You know, we're following state law and we're following guidelines that have put in place to kind of protect all of us. You know, not just the commissioners, but to protect to keep that good old boy system from being implemented in small towns where people do their friends favors and try and keep their enemies from prospering. So I'm really looking forward to a meeting where we have interaction with the public, even if it's just over a screen. At least we can address their concerns in person, and there can be faces behind the concerns, and we'll have faces behind the answers as well. So yeah, thanks IT guys. I think when we actually get a few public comments, it'll be interesting to test out and see how it goes. But I don't think, I think it can only go better from all the written concerns and the waiting game we had to play over these last two items. But thank you all for participating. Thank you, Kelly, for all the work you did. I know that was a grueling 3 months you've put into the last two applications. So thank you. How many items are on next month's agenda at this point?
We have the continued item for the map amendment and then 2 very simple annexations. So it should be an easier one.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to be excused in advance. I drew a once-in-a-lifetime Rocky Mountain goat tag, and I'll be in the Eagle Cap Wilderness hunting mountain goats. So
Nice.
I will not be
That's
around.
awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Is there any other concerns or issues, business that we need to go over? Okay. Thanks again to all the city staff for sticking around after hours and making us feel good about it.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, guys.
Everybody have a good evening.
This meeting's adjourned.